is episode 2 of Empire Mentality, and our guest today is a badass chick who has started 2 companies. We get into her journey throughout life and finding her own self-confidence, which is the message that she spreads and tries to instill in other people and help them along that path and finding their own self-confidence and self-love. Guys that are listening, you hear that and you think it's a girly topic that only girls are supposed to listen to, or that only girls will connect with. But I'm telling you that we had a great conversation about how guys also struggle with that and how you can find that in yourself and just how important it is in whatever you're doing. So she's the CEO and founder of Self Love Beauty and the co-founder of Oh Infinite Love, and she's my cousin Lisa.
Let's do this.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah,
Even though
this
I'm
is
in
exciting.
your building. We are on location today with my cousin Lisa, who is CEO and founder of Self Love Beauty and Oh Infinite Love. And I wanted to have you on because after the first podcast with Matt, I had multiple girls and women reach out to me telling me how cool the podcast was. So that's why I want to have a badass chick on like you. Yeah, girl power.
What's up,
let's
ladies?
Go. So that's why I want to have you on to talk about your business.
Absolutely.
And so how about you just start explaining Self Love Beauty and Oh Infinite Love and your kind of mission and the difference between the two.
Yeah, absolutely. So these are my favorite things to talk about. So glad that we are. First off, thanks for having me. Anything that I can do to support my cousins is awesome. And we all come from this great family blood. We're all go-getters. So it's really cool to be here. A little bit about Self Love Beauty. So I started this company back in 2012 as a blog. So I'm going to take you back to when blogs were not popular. Sharing your story was not popular. And so I had a lot of criticism when I first started because I was sharing my story about self-love and confidence when I first started. So that's just kind of the beginning of 2012. We became a blog, and then we didn't become a company until 2016, where we started a clothing line to really start teaching people more about confidence and self-love. And in 2018, we took another transformation where we became a nonprofit. And so our mission is to educate, invest, and impact people on self-love and confidence. I really truly believe that we have to bridge the gap of confidence for all generations. So that means that the big brother, big sisters, all the adults, the parents, the grandparents are all learning confidence, while I'm also teaching the younger generation too, because it's the only way that we're actually going to all have confidence. So that's a little bit about Self Love Beauty. It's something that I eat, breathe, sleep. I love everything that I do about it. And then in 2019, I started a company called Oh Infinite Love. So I'm the co-founder with it with Libby Rappin. And so we started last April as a YouTube channel, but that wasn't enough for us. We both went through a lot of mental health issues, which led us to leave our corporate jobs and which led us to start this company because we wanted a lot of people to understand that there's more to life than just working a job that you isn't fulfilling or running yourself dry. And so what we do is we teach mental well-being in the workplace. So that means that we have a curriculum about mind, body, spirit, and community and relationships. And so what we do is we teach people simple yet effective tools to implement into their lives.
Gotcha. So the difference is Self Love Beauty is more for your personal life, kind of just your everyday, and then Oh Infinite Love is more for companies that...
Yeah, I mean, I think all of it, the thing with Self Love Beauty, it's about confidence and self-love. And yes, it comes in a little bit to Oh Infinite Love, but that's more about mental well-being, mindfulness, and like teaching things that the workplace really needs because we're seeing this productivity going down, time management, anxiety in the workplace. And so we really want to be that driver of change.
Gotcha. Okay. So... What was your motivation then to start this? Kind of, does it go back to, I like with Matt, we went back to kind of his path and what brought him to where he's at now. So I'd like to do the same with you, going back to what Lisa was like in middle school or high school or college. Is it something that you struggled with as well? Because on the like people probably can already tell that you're this bubbly, outgoing person. Like you can walk into it's something I admire about you. You can walk into a room and just talk to anyone.
Yeah.
And that's something that is hard to do, that I've had to teach myself how to do, kind of force myself. So, But have you always been like that, or is it something that you personally struggled with, depression, anxiety of just being a girl?
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to talk about this. So I would say my whole life I've been the bubbly personality, always outgoing, but that doesn't mean I didn't struggle. So if you take me back to middle school years and high school years, I struggled a lot with fitting in because I thought I had to fit in. And I also struggled with body image issues like all the other girls. And I think that that's really where it started. So girls can be mean. Boys can be mean.
Yeah.
And when I was in high school, I wasn't the star athlete all the time. And I wasn't the kid that, I guess just was always the one that just fit in with everybody. I liked everybody. And so that was really hard for me to find who Lisa wanted to be. Through all of that, yes, I was bubbly, but internally I was suffering.
Yeah.
And I would say that it was something that I just didn't know how to explain to people because these fad diets were out there. So I'm trying to fit that certain body image that all the other girls are. I'm trying to decide what I wanted to do when I grew up. And all of these little things were playing with my head. So a lot of that happened through middle school and high school. And then I hit college. That was a big change, game changer for me, only because I come from a very small town. So then I went to Michigan State University.
Let me stop you quick, because on the first podcast with Matt, he mentioned Ohio State, and now you're mentioning Michigan State, and we've never mentioned Michigan on the podcast.
Well,
so we're off to a bad start.
boo.
Yeah. Anyways, go on.
No. Well, we'll never talk about Michigan. Let's just put it that way. I'm just kidding. Going into college, it was a big change for me because I was going into a culture shock, basically. Girls were wearing really skimpy clothing, and that's not what I grew up in. I grew up in wearing t-shirts and jeans, and I remember the first party I went to, and I did not know what I was supposed to be wearing as attire. So again, right there, confidence goes down, body image goes down. Why wasn't I fitting in? Where did I see myself? And also, too, you have all these people on society telling you how to be. So that was kind of through college where I did struggle, but I also was, again, me trying to learn who I wanted to be. And then I left college, got my first job in corporate communications, and I moved to Texas. And that's really where I had a whole new life that I was living. And I knew that people were still struggling because, of course, I was going through a lot of different obstacles. So I knew that I had to share my story with other people. And that's really where Self-Love Beauty evolved. So I would say I've never stopped being bubbly.
Yeah.
But I think to this day, I still struggle. I mean, I live in Michigan. Winters are depressing sometimes. So when people say they have seasonal depression, absolutely. There are days of that. There are days where it's hard to get out of bed. Anxiety for me is interesting. So I had an anxiety attack for the first time a couple of years ago. And it was actually triggered by working with people that just were rude and mean. And I don't like being around those people. I don't like to be around negative people. So I think that caused me to have anxiety of my own. And then fear of failure. I think that caused me a lot of sleepless nights. But I think over the time I've just evolved to appreciate the learning experiences versus failure.
Failure in what, in your corporate position that you were in, or people, and Matt kind of said the same thing about his sense of community at his first job as well. How he didn't feel like he fit in, or people didn't really care to talk to him, or whatever.
I stuck out. I have a very strong voice, and I'm not afraid to share it.
Should we turn the mic down?
And so I think one of those things is just for me, I just didn't fit in, or maybe I did, and I just didn't feel comfortable in certain aspects, or wasn't willing to try. When I talk about failure, though, I think it's not just with the corporate thing, but with Self-Love Beauty when I was getting started. Like, what if I take it to this next level? Well, what does that even mean? What if I fail? I personally don't even think I knew what failure actually meant. I think I just had this notion in my head of, I'm scared to try something because what if it doesn't go that perfect way in your head? Well, no crap, it's not going to go the best, like the best way. It never has, but it's way better than I ever expected. So that's what I would say a little bit.
Yeah, was it? I'm curious if it was what your friends would think, that you went for something and didn't. Would that be considered failure?
Failure with that, and honestly, this is so selfish to say, but I think money had an issue to do with it. So I worked a corporate job. I was making really good money. If I was going to take that leap, and if I was going to move to something else, what if I failed with money? What if I didn't have the nicest car in the block? What if all this perception came that, wow, Lisa left this and now she's making this? But what I learned is no one gives two shits.
Yeah.
Like, let's be honest here. No one cares. I don't care how much you make. I care if you're a good person. And so I think I had this notion that I had to live this certain expectation, but my happiness soon became more important than the perception of other people.
It's so funny, the parallels between the conversation with Matt and this, because he had the same thing. If you haven't listened, go back to episode 1, listen to Matt's to hear the parallels. But because he was saying the same thing, that he told everyone, like, he had a job where he could take customers out to ball games and stuff like that, and then quit to go sell door to door. And just the perception to his friends like that, they're like, man, he's quitting this awesome job to go do that. What the hell's he doing? So it's funny that it's
and like how you have to start saying no to people when people are like, well, let's go do something. I'm like, I don't have that in the bank anymore. Like, I can't go on this extravaganza like everybody else can because I didn't have the money to. It's still a learning process for me. I'm still getting back to where I was, and I'm okay with that though. Because I think when you open your eyes to what you truly love to do, like, I get to wake up every morning and say, wow, I get to do this all day. Yeah. And then when I do work a 14-hour day, I'm okay with it. Yeah. Because, like, I'm changing lives versus not being happy with where I was.
Man. Yeah. And the telling people no thing, so your big message is confidence and stuff like that. And telling people no, I've found that in the past few months just in my own life of telling people no, I can't go out this Friday because I'm doing a podcast with Lisa on Saturday, or I'm going to the gym in the morning, and I'm prioritizing that over that. And it helps build your confidence because you're sticking to your guns and you're sticking to what you believe in. So that's that message is cool.
Yes.
So going off that confidence, you kind of said that you had a fear of failure, but have you ever had any doubt that your self-love beauty wouldn't work, or do you still have doubts, or are you just saying, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm doing, and it's going to work eventually?
This is a question that probably about, we just became a business at this time. And I remember calling one of my girlfriends up and saying, hey, I'm quitting self-love beauty. I'm going to close the doors tomorrow. Wow. She was like, you should sleep on that. And I was like, no, I'm pretty sure this is what I'm going to do. Because
had you been thinking it for a couple of weeks, or was it an impulse? Like just like a bad day and you had to call your girlfriend and just vent for a little bit?
Yeah, no, it was actually one of those things. For a while, I couldn't balance the corporate job and the part-time job and be a good friend. I just felt overwhelmed. And there are going to be points of that in our lives. But I think at that point, I just was like, okay, I'm growing in my corporate job. I love what I do there. So I just need to get rid of something so that I can focus. And so I called my girlfriend and said, I'm closing the doors. We're not bringing in a lot of revenue. Mm-hmm. We're not moving to the level that I was hoping for at this point. And she told me I needed to sleep on it. So ironically, I slept on it. I woke up the next day to a blog post of ours that hit over 500,000 people in 8 hours. And I mean, I don't know how long I slept, but it was around 8 hours. And I just woke up and I was like, all right, somehow, somewhere, someone's telling me that I can't give up. And I didn't. And
that kind of just gave me goosebumps, honestly.
Goosebumps. I was just going to say that. And I remember that. And I called her, and because she had access to my stats at this time. Okay. And I said, did you just see that? She goes, you're not quitting anytime soon. I'm like, no, girlfriend, I'm not. And that year we became ranked number 9th in the United States for our blog. Wow. And so it was really eye-opening for me. I still have chills. It was just an amazing experience. So that happened. So it really opened my eyes. And I feel like through all the moments of doubt, I go back to that moment. And I also remind myself that the lives I've changed because of what I've done. And so, of course, I have doubt. I'm scared all the time that I'm going to let someone down or I'm going to let myself down. But I have surrounded myself with this really strong community that I know that I won't fail. I remember it was probably 2 years ago. I was thinking about leaving my corporate job. Still wasn't sure about the money thing. And I remember a woman sitting across from me. We were grabbing coffee, and she puts her hand on my hand and says, Lisa, if you leave today, I have a couch, and you can live with me and my husband because I believe in what you're doing. And if you want to get rid of all your assets because you truly believe in self-love beauty, I believe in it too. I will help you. And I'll never forget that conversation because, again, back to the moment of perception, I was scared of that. But knowing that someone would have loved me and just help me regardless of what I was bringing to the table, really opened my eyes to all the other people in this world that have helped me. Like, I have the best parents in the world who literally build everything for me. My dad builds all of our stuff for Self-Love Beauty because we didn't have the money for it. And I've just realized that over time, people will give their time. I mean, in December, we had to write over 250 thank you notes. I bought my girlfriend's wine and we wrote 250 thank you notes, but they are my community. So I say all of that to say that there are the moments of doubt, but they're the people that remind me every day that it's going to be okay. And I think, like, even if you're not an entrepreneur and you do have an 8 to 5 job, like, you still are having doubts about things, but you have to look back at your why and why you even started. So if I look back at the last 7 years, I had my reasons for starting it. And so if I give up now, I think in 10 years, I would probably slap myself because I'd be like, where would I be in 10 years if I would have given up on my dream? And I think about that still. Like, if I would have given up on that dream all those years ago, I wouldn't be where I am today.
Yeah. And starting with why is something that, like any podcast that like this one that you listen to, they always talk like having your strong why. And yours is pretty obvious that it's because you're helping change people's lives and stuff like that. It's hard for some people to, I'm still trying to figure mine out. And it's just kind of hard to kind of sit back and reflect on your own, kind of look yourself in the mirror of what you really want, kind of put your ego aside, the money about it too, and trying to figure that out is tough.
And I'll go off of that because I think another thing too is when you check yourself at the mirror, you realize what you are good at and what you're not good at. And I learned a lot about what I'm good at and where I need help. And that has opened a lot of doors for me because I'll explain. I hate finances. I absolutely hate budgets. I have found people that really enjoy that stuff, and now they're taking a part of that for me and working beside me. So I think it's back to that too, is like, while you're figuring it out, it's okay to ask for help.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be anywhere I am today without people checking all of my stuff and saying, you did this wrong. Or when I do speaking engagements, people will come up to me that I'm close with and say, hey, you said this word too much. Like, oh, okay, thanks for telling me. And now I've learned how to fix that, but it's because people have helped me.
Yeah, and that's another thing just from my learning is to double down on your strengths and then find people and pay them to do the stuff that you're not good at or that you don't enjoy, because then it's going to wear you down. Like if you were stuck doing finance stuff and all that stuff, it would wear you down and make you question yourself more. Probably,
in your why.
Yeah.
In your why. You're like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah, why am I doing this?
Yes.
I hate doing finance. It's fucking ridiculous. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. But you talked about community too, and that's something also that I've been learning is the sense of community. And it goes back to I think about CrossFit and why people work out that way. It's because it's a weird little community in that gym, and everyone's doing it all together and sweating together, and that's why people do it. It's also a great workout, of course, but that's probably more than half of it is doing that stuff together.
Yeah, and it's and you're checking yourself at the door. Like, it doesn't matter what age you are for CrossFit. It doesn't matter how much you weigh. It doesn't matter what you look like. You're all just coming together for one purpose. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what we say a lot with the company, with Self-Love Beauty, because I don't care how much you make. I don't care what your social economic status is. I just care that you're a good person. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly back to that. And I share this a lot with people too, is if you want to grow, I hate to tell people this, but you have to get rid of these negative people in your lives. It's hard. It sucks. And some of them are your family. Some of them are your friends. But are they really your friends if they're going to continue to not support you?
Right.
I learned that the hard way through everything that I've done. I mean, I've had people say things behind my back of like, I hope she fails. I've read messages that have been, I can't believe she shared her story, all of those things, but they're not my people, and that's okay. But I had to learn that the hard way of like tears and reminding myself like, why doesn't everybody like me? Well, not everybody's going to like me, but it's the people that really want to change their lives that are going to come on board and support me. And then I just have to do the same back. That's the other important thing, is while people are helping you along your journey, when they need you, you drop everything to help them. Yeah,
I like that. How did you deal with that the first time you heard like a friend saying that? Did you confront them, or did you just kind of ghost them eventually?
Yeah, so I would say that I wasn't in a place in my life where I was good at confrontation then.
Yeah.
I was terrible at it. Nowadays, I'll just call you.
Yeah.
Like, I'm very different now. I really took it to heart of like, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Maybe I'm saying too much. Maybe all of these maybes, all of these wondering why. I'm like, why would someone say that? I would never say that about them. I would have supported them. So then I had this reality check of like, okay, I want a two-way street friendship. I don't like one-way streets. I'm just not down for them. So, but I had to learn that the hard way of like going and like being very honest with myself and being like, what do I want in a friendship? So I will say I cried. I was really upset. And I remember just thinking like I wasn't worthy of like, who else is talking about me? All of those things. But I think over time you just realize that it's going to happen for the rest of my life. I'm going to probably lose other friends along the way, and that's okay. Yeah. You know, we're just going to go different paths. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. And just accepting the fact that that's okay is I have one less friend, but I've got 4 other ones that'll come and write thank you notes with me. So it's okay. It's fine.
Well, and too, like, I mean, you're on your own journey too. And it's like, as you grow, you're going to find people that fit that mold of your lifestyle too. And it's really fun because it's cool that I've met so many entrepreneurs in the same space as me. But then my friends my best friend, we've been best friends since we were 15. She's a doctor. I run an entrepreneurship, very different humans, but the support level, we're going through very similar things, regardless of what type of role we're in.
Yeah.
So
that's something that I kind of found people like that when I was training for the job that I have now, and lived in Indianapolis. It was a little community of 15 of us, probably around the same age. There's one guy, Rami. I know you're listening. You're like 37, I know. But that little community was it kind of opened my mind up, and we're all out on the same path at that point and could kind of feed off of each other and work together and do stuff on the weekend, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Made it fun. But and that's the other thing that I wanted to get to is kind of when that fun comes in and when you can take a break. And because I know you talk about how hard you work. It's a Saturday we're doing this. This is fun for us, but it's technically work, I guess. But when you have to take a break, say you've worked 14 straight days, 60 hours a week, taking that break on a Saturday or a Saturday morning. But do you think that people use that I need to take a break as an excuse to not work, and they don't reach their goals because of it? I always think of it as like a cheat meal, when someone's on a diet or working out, and they have all this knowledge of a diet, and they're doing this, but every Friday they need to eat a pizza because they just need it mentally. They need it for their mental health. But it's like, no, dude, you don't. You can have a cheat meal, maybe schedule that out in your diet at the end of each month when you've earned it, something like that. But do you think that people use that break and that's the reason that a lot of people don't reach their goals? Yeah,
so I think it's a couple of different things. I think that people that I think the thing is they know that they're making their own excuses. So I think that that's one thing that people probably don't even notice what they're doing, and it's a growth mindset. It's right back to that. They don't have a growth mindset yet. I always say yet because I think you can always get to those things.
You're very positive.
Well, you have to be in the role that I'm playing, and also too if you want to grow. So I think that it's a couple of things. I kind of going back to your first part about working 14-hour days, maybe even for 14 days in a row. I just got off that. I did that, and at the end, how I celebrated with my girlfriends is we planned a trip away. And I promised them that for 2 days I would not touch my laptop.
Where'd you go?
We went to Grand Rapids, actually.
Well, that's not really a way.
Well, for me it was a way. It was close enough. I do have a dog or a puppy that could only go away to the grandparents for so long. But for me, that was my break away from everything. But I scheduled it because I knew that I was going to have to take that exhaustion break. That's your mental health break. But I think too, it's how you spend those days off that really makes a difference. So if you're saying that you know every Friday you need off because of XYZ, well, have your reasons and have your backing for it. Because do you really need that break? Or are you making an excuse because you want to be like everybody else? Being an entrepreneur is not like everybody else. You are not working a 9 to 5. Your customers sometimes are at night. Your customers are sometimes on weekends. You got to get over it. Like I work almost every weekend. I work almost every night. But I've learned that I've wanted to make excuses. I wanted to say, oh, well, I don't need to be at this meeting. I need a mental break. No, I just wanted to sit in front of my TV
It's a
and
lie.
be a bum.
Your
It was
brain
such
is
a
a lie.
lie. It was such a lie. And then guess what? I was behind on work and we didn't meet our goals. I remember that. I will totally admit that as
Learned
an
the hard
example.
way.
I learned the hard way. But I learned that that was an excuse. I didn't need a break from it. I just wanted to kind of go in my own little introverted world. I didn't want to deal with things. So I think a lot of people, back to like the cheat day and using those things, I think it's something that, too, people are scared to follow their goals. Also, sometimes you're in a shitty job that you don't even realize might be totally depleting you. So you're looking forward to that cheat day on Friday because it's the only thing you get to look forward to. I think a lot of people forget that I look forward to my breaks, but I'm loving the process. My 14-hour days are great. You're right. There are some things I don't enjoy doing all the time, but I knew that these 14 days were going to be really, really hard. And then I get to celebrate too. My friends and I celebrate all the wins. We have brought champagne. They were like, great job. And I'm like, yeah. Okay, that's how we celebrated, you know? So I think it's how you look at things. And I think it's a gut-wrenching thing to really get deep inside yourself to say, what's my excuse? Am I really needing this break because I literally can't even keep my eyes open? Or my brain, I'm having so much brain fog? Or do I just hate my job?
Yeah.
You know, or is it because I want to be like everybody else? Because, and I say everybody else, but I shouldn't say that because there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there, but you have this one friend who barely works and now you're comparing your life to them and they're not doing anything. So you're like, well, I want to take every Friday off with them. But in reality, their goals are very different than yours, or should be.
Yeah. People are scared, I think, to find to dig deep themselves into their own brain and to figure that out for themselves. They're scared of what they might find. I would imagine the people that are listening to this are open to doing that, or they should be if they're trying to reach goals and stuff like that.
And vulnerability is a really hard thing. Like, you have to be vulnerable to figure it all out. Like, you have to be, what do you want personally, and what do you have to give up?
Vulnerable with yourself or with other people?
Both.
Which is more important?
With yourself first. You totally have to be with yourself, because if you can't even be vulnerable with what you need, you can't even express that to anybody. And then once you figure out inside where you need help or where you're struggling, then you can go out to your friends and say, hey man, like, I know I used to take every Friday off with you, but that's not meeting my goals. And I'm sorry that you feel that way, but like, this is where I want to be in 5 years. I hope that you have my back. You know,
it takes guts to say that to a friend.
It does.
And you would hope that they would have your back. And because that's the scariest thing is like, what if he's going to make fun? And I think it's a maturity thing too. As you get older, people start understanding that you're 20 years old and you're telling a guy you're not going to go to, I guess 21 years old, telling the guy you're not going to the bar with him. He's going to shit on you. He's going to make fun of you and sticking to your guns at that. But like,
and you have to. And I for a long time thought my friends just thought I was busy all the time. And I wasn't invited to some things because they were like, well, you would be busy anyways. And I finally just had to sit back and say. That's
just girls being mean.
Well, it's boys too. But I think for a while there, it was like, they just always heard me say like, well, I'm working this weekend, I'm doing this. And so I had to do a reality check with myself too, is like, am I being productive in the time that I have? Do I actually have to work every Saturday? Like, what does that look like? What are my priorities? Do I want to hang out with this group of friends? Do I want to hang out with this group of friends? And now it's like, I feel way more comfortable when I get to say no. But it's because we've created this respect level between all of us now. But before they were new to this, I was new to it, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And like we're saying, it's tough for especially guys and girls, but just from my perspective as a guy, it's tough to be vulnerable with your friends or to admit that you're having confidence issues or anxiety or depression or something like that. And I know that you've been trying to have more guys and men on your podcasts and at your events. Yep. And so I wanted to ask what kind of similarities have you found or differences between men and women and the STEM, where their confidence issues kind of stem from? Is it kind of the same thing? Because when I looked at it, just thinking quickly this morning about it, it might stem from the same place of society, like other guys thinking this about this guy's not manly because he's doing this, or kind of the same thing for women. Like, and Kevin Love has been, we were talking about him earlier. Yeah. In the past year or so, he's the one that kind of came out, was the first kind of male figure to talk about anxiety and depression. So especially in the workplace, I guess, what similarities and differences have you seen between men and women on those issues?
Yeah, and I'm actually going to take us back to when we were 3 or 4 years old. So if we take us back to when we were that age, we were told at a certain what we needed to be. Boys needed to be the ones that were tough, and you were playing with trucks, and you were doing baseball and basketball, and girls wore skirts, and we made food. And also, again, nothing wrong with that, but we were put in these placeholders at such a young age where boys, we were told we needed to be comforting, we needed to be all of those things, and boys had to be more masculine. And I have to share, I think back to when we were, David and I were at my grandparents' house, and we always played sports outside. And I think I was the only girl for a while there that would always play with like you and your brothers and my brother. And I just I remember my mom would always say, well, why are you always playing with the boys? And I didn't understand it then what the difference was, because I think at that age you're still trying to figure out like where you fit in society. So fun times, by the way. But I just had it just made me think of that memory as I was bringing that up. So I totally just had to share that because it's fun, like when you get to be competitive at that age. But I think that that's where it stems from, is where we have these things where society's telling us where we have to be. And no fault to our parents or anybody else. It's just kind of how we've all grown up. But I think as society has evolved, we've opened up to being vulnerable in different areas. So you just shared a little bit ago that it's harder for boys to be vulnerable to their friends and stuff. But I will share that the minute the first one of your friend group opens up, everybody else will open up. And I say that because I've been there with my guy friends, and I've watched it happen, or I've heard stories about them saying, like, once one shares a story, then you're like, yeah, man, I'm going through the same thing. I'm going through the same thing. You are? Holy crap. You talk about people that are having marriage problems. Let's use that as an example. The minute a guy opens up about why he might be having it, you're probably going to be able to help him in other areas. So I think we're all similar, because I think girls are the same. Once one person in your circle opens up, if you're in a mature friend group, everybody else is going to follow. And so kind of back to your question about it, does it all stem from the same place? Absolutely. I think that we have standards set for us about how we can talk and how we can be, and we've all tried to live up to that. But I think as time is evolving, we're trying to be more open with it. So using the example of Kevin Love, I applaud him in so many ways, because he opened that door up for more men to talk about it. And that is actually what I'm trying to do with Self-Love Beauty too, because I talk to men every day. I pick their brains, like, so why do you feel this way? What's going on? And once they have that opportunity to talk, they're more open to it. Because let's be real here, men cry. Okay, it's
no,
great. Yes, you do. See, right there. Yes, you guys do. You cry. You have feelings. You've gone through breakups. You've gone through heartache. You've lost jobs. You haven't been able to provide for your families at one point. It is okay. Girls feel the exact same way. But you have to be open to that communication to move to the next level. So I shared before with David, before we jumped on, that I have some friends that have been in counseling recently that are men, and they're going for their marriages. They're going for their own emotional well-being, and holy crap, the transformations they're taking right now once they've opened up it's a night and day game right now. So I know I'm kind of going all over the place with this, but I think it's so important for people to just start opening up, and we girls are doing stronger in it because of this women empowerment movement. But that doesn't mean that we don't need the men to too, because I think we all need to. And you asked me about the workplace, and I think creating an environment where people feel okay. So I'm very open when I worked in the corporate world, where I would just ask guys, well, how do you feel about that? Doesn't that suck? Did you feel like your moral compass even matched up to what we just had to do? Like types of things like that. And then they open up. So I think you have to open that space up. Girls, you need to open that space in a very comforting way. And men, you need to be okay with that. I think it's like a big vulnerability thing that we all have to learn.
It's a big confidence thing. I mean, I have a couple buddies who I can talk to like that. And I guess I can't remember the first conversation we had. I think that those guys that I talk to were naturally like that when I wasn't. And so they started talking to me about like what they were doing. And then I don't think I was going through a similar situation as this guy, but it opened the door for me to talk about something that I was going through or
Yes.
something, even though it wasn't the same situation. So yeah, it's opening that door, I guess, but it's tough.
It's tough.
It's really hard.
and it's tough for girls. So I think a lot of times we're told that we're emotional. And I say all the time, I'm really not. It took me a long time to be open with people. It started with my blog being open. So that's just been 7 years. For years, I held a lot in, but the perception, like boys just don't talk. We talk a lot, girls do. So I think that you think that we're talking about feelings, but really we're just trying to figure out our feelings. So I think it's one of those things too, because you can have a very surface level conversation with a girl and you can think, wow, she's very vulnerable. Not really. She's just talking about what her favorite color is and where she likes to eat. And she's just talking a lot. But once you get to know her, then she's more open because you open that trust for her. And it's the same thing with guys. So it's getting to that point where you can have an intelligent conversation with someone. And I know that kind of sounds like it's about dating, and it kind of is, but I think it's also friendship too. Like, I look at my cousins that I have, and I look at a lot of my friends, like I can be vulnerable with them because why not at this point? Probably 7 years ago, there was no way in hell we'd be having this conversation right now, you know?
Yeah, and it's funny when you talk to, or you're used to talking to those friends, like having real conversations. Like my friend Dylan, he'll call me, I call him almost every day. We'll talk for like an hour, just about whatever. And and then you'll go meet up with some of your buddies, or you go to the bar, watch a game or something, and you're just sitting there talking about fucking LeBron and Michigan football, and you're
exactly.
like, man, it just feels weird. You're like, what the hell's going on here? Like, why aren't we? I don't know. And it's not a bad thing to have those conversations, obviously, either. But it's weird when you can take notice of that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
for sure.
And then you're just open to who you feel comfortable being yourself, your full self around. You know, there's a lot about the word diversity and inclusion is getting thrown around a lot right now. Diversity and inclusion, like in workplaces. And the word I always say is like, you feel like you can bring your whole self to a conversation, because a lot of times we don't. We just hit that surface level. Again, not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing, but we have our people. And that's okay if you only have 3 people. You know, some of us only do, and that's okay.
Yeah. I don't know where to go with that one, honestly. That's That's really like a mic drop, but and it's having the confidence to be able to only have three friends.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you have 800 Facebook friends, but
I know.
if you only got 3 that you can really talk to, it's a blessing, because you can probably have deeper conversations with them rather than just fragmented conversations with 20 people.
Exactly.
I gotcha. The next part I want to talk about, we don't have a good transition to this one, but I want to ask about, because you really talk about self-confidence and being comfortable in your own skin, and how kind of accepting your brain and kind of who you are is important. But I wanted to ask, if at your events, do you talk about the relationship with fitness and the confidence with that too? Because when I feel most confident is when after I crush a workout or something like that, or a week long of eating all my meals correctly and not drinking, and that's when I feel most confident myself, most comfortable in my own skin. So you talk about being comfortable in your own skin, stuff like that. You also talk about how important it is to be comfortable in your body, but making sure that body is also a healthy one. If someone's overweight or underweight, something like that, because that's probably the first step. I would guess is accepting who you are, but then progressing. I guess accepting who you are is not a good word, because you want to progress to be a better version. But
well, you have to look at, again, back to looking yourself in the mirror and say, do I love my body? Do I hate my body? Or that's one piece of it. But I think it's another thing too, is it takes me back to 2012 when I started my blog. I was going through really bad IBS. So it's just like a disease that some people have. And I look back and I don't even know if that's actually what I had, but I think I just wasn't taking care of myself. I wasn't sleeping correctly. I wasn't eating correctly. And I wasn't working out to the level that worked for me. So a couple of things. Back to your question about events. Yeah, absolutely. This is what we talk about. This is because fitness changed my life. I've always been into fitness, but I really found my jam with spin and cardio and running.
You teach spin
Yes,
classes still?
Yeah, I still teach those, and I'm still training. I'm training for my 4th marathon this May, but I had to find what worked for me. So I think that if you went to a magazine right now and you read through it, it would tell you about the 5 ways that you could lose weight in 10 days. Mm-hmm. It would tell you the 17 different workouts that Jennifer Aniston has been doing. Of course, we all want to look like her, so we're all trying to like want those things. But at the end of the day, like that works for her body. Mm-hmm. That works for her body. That's her life. I always just tell people you have to move. You have to have, you need a sleep. You need to sleep. That is the one thing that if you have a bad diet for a day, if you sleep, like it is better than nothing, and you need to move. If that means that you would rather walk for 30 minutes or you'd rather run 10 miles, doesn't matter, you need to move. And I say all of that because you're going to be at a different level. You've been playing sports your whole life, David, and so I think that you're at a different level than someone else. Mm-hmm. And so if we're talking to the whole population right now, it's if you don't have those 3 things in your life, you will not have confidence. Strong confidence, I should say.
Say them again. Move, sleep, and
eat. Okay. Healthy. Yeah. And again, that's in different forms. So if we're talking a little bit about my journey, I had to find what foods worked for me and what foods didn't work for me. It's very different than other people. Some people can eat 3 meals a day. Some people do that intermittent fasting. Some people do 6 meals a day, but it has to work for you. And that is the biggest thing, is if you really want to have self-love, remind you, self-love has the word self in it. Self-confidence has the word self in it. It is not your friend, your family. It's not someone else. It's about you. So you have to look in the mirror and think, okay, what works for Lisa? What works for David? What works for, Joe Schmo? Because at the end of the day, that's what's going to build your confidence. So when you were saying like you have a fitness routine, you have like the way that you eat, the way that you sleep, because that's how you know that you are at your top peak. Mm-hmm. So
I feel accomplished.
Yeah. And honestly, it just makes you feel freaking great when you know that your body is moving. You're no more brain fog. I always say that. You're no more brain fog. You don't have to take 7 naps in one day. You're not hungover from a night of like mm-hmm. drinking all night and taking tequila shots, like just all of those things. And again, everybody does them. Everybody has their sleepless nights. Everybody has their nights of tequila shots. Everybody has those nights. It's okay. But if you're deciding that that's the life that you want to live every night, be very well aware that you are not going to be productive the next day. Mm-hmm. And if that is your choice, then you will probably start losing your confidence a little bit. You're going to probably go back into a depression area. And all these goals that you had for your future, you're literally letting them just sit there and do nothing with them. So I say that those 3 things are the biggest. And then the next thing to grow in your confidence is you need to surround yourself with positive people who believe in that stuff. So I'm a big runner. A lot of my friends aren't. But when we go away for girls' weekend, they know I'm waking up and I'm going for a run. So we don't plan the day until I'm back from my run.
Oh, the world revolves around Lisa.
Yes, exactly. But while I'm doing that, one's going for a walk, one's going to a yoga class.
Oh, nice.
So we all do our own thing, but we all know that's what we needed in the morning. And then if we all like, man, we didn't sleep well. Well, if we want to have fun, we better take a nap during the day. Like you have to be very conscious of what works for you, but also surround yourself with community that's like, hey, you're not yourself. Check yourself at the door and like, what'd you eat wrong? Like, are you working out? Like, I always say like my biggest fans are the people that are bold and blunt with me about, I actually had a woman say to me in a coffee shop the other day, yeah, I saw a photo posted of you the other day. Your eyes looked a little tired. Oh, no. She's like, have you been sleeping? I was like, no, I wasn't sleeping. That was the issue. And it's like, your body shows those things and people start to see that, but you have to pick it out yourself. So I know I kind of went all over the place with that, but I think that there's just so much back to the moving, eating, and sleeping. Like those are the 3 cores. And if you are a beginner, go for a walk. Go for a 30-minute walk. Yeah, because I think a lot of people, not to get gross, but like bowel movements, like you need those every day. And if you're not getting those, you're feeling crummy. If you are not drinking enough water, you are dehydrated and you're not moving to the level that you need to. So I think it's all of those things too that we have to consider when we think about confidence. And the more you start taking care of yourself and putting yourself first, the more you can take care of other people.
That makes sense. Yeah. And it's funny when people say like they don't know how to work out, they don't know what to do. And but there's a million different things out there.
Yes.
So it's probably confusing for someone that's just trying to start working out. Should I do the keto diet? Should I do this? Should I do that? But it's like, just try something.
Yes.
Is my thing that kind of bothers me. It's an excuse when they say they don't know what to do. You know what to do.
Yes.
You're just making an excuse at that point.
And I always tell people, if you don't know what diet to go on, do not go on a diet. Point blank. You put fruits and vegetables into your body, and you eat simple meals that are effective. So go back to plants. Plants are very healthy. And I always say too, if you're going to go on a keto diet or something like that, do your research, because people our age are not being researched on that stuff. It's people of different age groups, especially women. So I'm not an expert at any of that stuff,
neither,
but I always tell people that is a very strong point to get to, and fad diets do not work. Been on a million of them. Tried them all. Trust me. You have to find what works for you.
Hey,
and
I got one success story. Shout out my boy Fox, who just did keto for like 2 months, and he lost like 20 or 30 pounds.
That's awesome.
He's in Puerto Rico right now, living it up on the beach.
Good job. But yeah.
Good job, Fox.
And again, he found what worked for him, And so I think that's like, don't go on the keto diet if you hate meat. Don't go on it if you hate fat, because I think that's the thing too, is people go to those extremes because they think that's what they need. But if you aren't even enjoying the process, and it's back to that confidence thing, you're going to lose all this weight, but you're not going to enjoy the process.
Yeah.
But yeah, shout out. That's great.
Shout out. He's going to love that. He's going to text me right away. So I want to wrap up with, you talk about self-confidence and confidence. Define that.
Yeah.
If you could put it in a definition, what would it be?
If I could put confidence in a quick definition, it would be that confidence is the motivator of everybody's behaviors. So if you don't have confidence, you are probably going to have a behavior that's not growing. And if you have confidence, you're going to grow. So confidence is basically the motivator of everybody's behaviors. So I really, truly believe, point blank, that's how it is. If you don't have confidence, your behavior is going to show.
Yeah.
And if you do have confidence, your behavior is going to show. So it's very much the underlining between who becomes a scientist and who doesn't, who becomes the next CEO and who doesn't. Honestly, who becomes like a great parent and who doesn't, those types of things. So. Yeah.
And that's big. I know with Matt, his confidence, just with his business and stuff, he never seems to have any worry in the world.
I know.
About who he is. It's annoying, isn't it?
So annoying. Matt, I hope you're listening.
But he's just so confident with everything that he does. It shows in his business, in his life, and you're the same way, obviously. Yeah. So.
But and again, like watching Matt have that, but also give back. Like Matt's given me so much advice, but he's good at what he does, and I'm good at what I do. So it's like I can't give the advice he can give, but I can give different. So it's like also too, when you see someone who's annoyingly overly in love with what they do, they give great advice. So
yeah, because they just love talking about it.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, but all right, how can people find you or your events, your blog, your podcast, all that?
So my nonprofit, you guys can find at selflovebeauty.com. My podcast is on SoundCloud.com/The Confident Girl Podcast, which David will be on. So you'll have to check that out.
Check it out.
And all social media is just Self Love Beauty. We're on LinkedIn, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, and we're on Instagram. So we put all of our events out there. We have a ton of them. They're phenomenal. We have them for age groups all the way from 6 to, you could be 100. And
are they all around Michigan, or? They're
mainly in the Great Lakes Bay. So that would be the Midland, Saginaw, Bay City area. But I travel all over the state of Michigan and out of the state to do things. So I'm always willing to work with people.
But yeah, it's a great thing about technology, though, is you can connect on social media. Or do you guys do YouTube videos and stuff, too, from your events?
Oh, don't go to our YouTube channel. It's bad right now.
We'll cut that part out. But yeah, so hit Lisa up, listen to the podcast, connect with her, share with her, shoot her a message. She's very open to talking to anyone, as you can tell. So hit her up. If you found value in this, especially, like I said, there was a few girls or women that hit me up from the first podcast that said they enjoyed it. So if you're a guy or a girl, you found value in this, share it with someone. Tag us in it on Instagram or Facebook, anything like that. and just connect with us on LinkedIn, Facebook. We'll post some of these ones on TikTok again. If you want to watch the Matt's episode, you can go back and listen to it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or on YouTube. Google Podcasts is the other one that I didn't realize people were on. I guess that's a Droid thing. I'm not Team
I'm
Droid.
learning stuff too, guys.
Yeah, so connect with us on all of it. Tag Lisa or Self Love Beauty and tag Empire Mentality on your posts. And thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Have a great day, everybody.